My name is Tessa Monroe, and I am standing in the hallway of a graduation venue that smells like fresh paint and fresh flowers, and the particular smell of hope that graduation venues always have. It is May 15th, a Thursday, and I am about to become invisible in front of everyone I know. That is the point. That is the entire design of this moment. That is what I have been planning since the moment I received the email from the university informing me that my name would be called first. But first, I need to explain what it means to be the strong daughter in a family that mistakes strength for independence. I need to explain what it means to be the daughter that everyone assumes doesn't need help, which means they never offer it, which means they never have to acknowledge that you're struggling. I need to explain what it means to be me. I am 22 years old. I have been earning my MBA in data analytics for 3 years while working two jobs. I have been doing this while my sister Ashley, who is 18, has been attending high school with the financial and emotional support of our entire family. That is not an accusation. That is simply a fact, a data point. Something that I have been tracking meticulously since I learned in my first year of the program that data was the only currency that never lied. The graduation ceremony is at the Jefferson Auditorium, a building on the university campus that holds approximately 800 people. The event will be live streamed. The event will be photographed. The event will be attended by everyone that matters to our family's social standing, which is a way of saying, everyone who has money and the time to show up to celebrate someone else's achievements. My family will be in the front row. My mother, Karen, will wear something expensive. My father, Robert, will wear something uncomfortable that makes him look smaller than he is. My sister, Ashley, will wear the expression of someone who has never, not even once, questioned whether she deserved the support she received. The invitation to my graduation was delivered to our house approximately 4 months ago. My mother framed it immediately. She sent it to relatives. She talked about it at her book club and at her country club, and at every opportunity that presented itself to discuss the fact that her daughter was graduating. What she did not discuss was the fact that I was the one graduating. She discussed it as if she was graduating, as if my achievement was her achievement, as if my completion of an MBA while working two jobs was somehow a reflection of her parenting, rather than a reflection of my own inability to accept the family's financial support. Which brings me to the financial support. Let me be clear about this. My parents offered to pay for my education. They offered to pay for my housing. They offered to help me through this process. They offered, generously and repeatedly, to take this burden off my shoulders. And I refused. Not out of pride, though there was pride involved. I refused because my mother said something to me 3 years ago that I have never been able to forget. I was 17 years old, sitting at the dinner table, and I mentioned that I had gotten into a prestigious MBA program that would start the following year. It was one of only 12 programs in the country that allowed students to begin their MBA while still finishing their undergraduate degree. It was an incredible opportunity. My mother looked at me and said, "That's wonderful, honey. Your father and I will pay for it, of course." And then she paused, and then she said, "Unlike your sister will need our support. Your sister is sensitive. Your sister is not as strong as you are. So we will need to focus our resources on making sure she has everything she needs." What my mother meant, though she did not say it in those exact words, was, "You are strong, so you don't need us. Your sister is not strong, so she does need us. Your strength is a reason to withdraw support. Your sister's sensitivity is a reason to provide unlimited support." And the equation my mother was presenting was this: if you don't need us, then we won't help you. If you do need us, we will help you, but we will also make you feel small for needing us. I was 17 years old when I made the decision that I would not need them. I told my mother that I would pay for my own education. I told her that I would work, and I would study, and I would figure it out. I told her that she should focus her resources on Ashley, because apparently that was what she wanted to do anyway. And my mother looked at me like I had just given her permission to do something she had been planning to do all along. So I worked. For 3 years, I worked. Let me tell you what 3 years of working looks like when you are also trying to complete an MBA. It looks like waking up at 4:45 in the morning to open a cafe where you work as a morning cashier. It looks like going to classes in the afternoon, where you try not to fall asleep even though you were working until midnight the night before. It looks like tutoring high school and middle school students in the evening because they need math help, and you are apparently good at explaining concepts in a way that makes sense. It looks like studying between the tutoring sessions, sometimes for 10 minutes at a time, sometimes for an hour if you're lucky, sometimes not studying at all because you are too tired and you need to sleep, or you will actually fall apart. It looks like wearing the same shoes until they develop holes. It looks like taping those holes closed with duct tape, and then eventually with actual tape because duct tape wears through. It looks like going to the grocery store and counting your money before you put items in your cart to make sure you can afford them. It looks like avoiding my family when they talk about vacations or new cars or renovating the house, because I am tired and I don't have the energy to pretend that these are normal conversations to be having when I am worried about how I'm going to pay my tuition for the next semester. It looks like going home to a rental room in a house that is not mine, in a neighborhood that is safe but not nice, in a building where the water pipes are constantly leaking. The kitchen sink drips. The bathroom sink drips. There is a spot on the ceiling of my bedroom where the water damage has created a pattern that looks like a map of somewhere I've never been. The landlord says he will fix it. He does not fix it. The water continues to drip, 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 like a clock counting down, like a heartbeat, like the sound of all of the minutes I have spent working instead of resting, all of the sleep I have lost, all of the normal college experiences I have missed because I was working. My sister Ashley is 18 years old. She attends high school at one of the most expensive private schools in the city. She has a bedroom that has been renovated 3 times. She has a car that my parents bought for her on her 16th birthday. She has clothes that are replaced seasonally. She has a mother who shows up to her soccer games and her choir performances and every single event that she participates in. She has a father who reviews her homework and makes sure she understands it, and who takes pride in her accomplishments without questioning whether she deserves them. My sister Ashley is not a bad person. I need to be clear about this, because what I am about to reveal at my graduation ceremony will make her seem like a villain, and she is not. She is a person who has been raised in a system where she is told that she is special, that she is sensitive, that she cannot function without support. She is a person who has never been asked to struggle. She is a person who has been told, implicitly and explicitly, that her older sister is strong and therefore does not need the same kind of love that she needs. My sister Ashley is a victim of the same system that has victimized me, except her victimization looks like abundance and mine looks like scarcity. My sister Ashley sends me text messages asking if I will be at her graduation ceremony. She sends me photos of her in her graduation robe. She sends me messages about how nervous she is about leaving for college, about how she wishes I was there to help her through the transition. And I read these messages, and I feel my heart break a little bit every time, because she is asking for my presence, my attention, my labor, while simultaneously being the reason that I cannot provide these things to myself. 3 months before my graduation ceremony, I receive an email from the university. The subject line reads, "Notification of financial shortfall." I open the email with my hands shaking slightly, even though I have been expecting this email for weeks. I have been doing the calculations in my head. I have been tracking every dollar that I earn and every dollar that I spend. I have been trying to figure out how to make it work. The email informs me that my final tuition payment is $1,200. I have $1,000 in my savings account. I have no way to make up the difference. I will not graduate on schedule. I call my mother that afternoon. I tell her about the shortfall. I ask if there is any way that she can help me make up the difference. I promise her that I will repay her. I promise that I will work extra hours and that I will pay back every penny. I promise that I will prove to her that this was the right decision, that lending me this money was the right decision, that trusting me was the right decision. My mother is quiet on the other end of the phone. And then she says, "Tessa, you've always been so strong. You'll figure it out. Ashley is going to need help with her college applications, and that's going to be our priority right now. Can you understand that? You're going to be fine." And in that moment, I understand something fundamental about my relationship with my mother. I understand that my strength is not something she admires. My strength is something she resents because it means she doesn't have to feel guilty about not helping me. My strength is the excuse she uses to justify her lack of presence in my life. My strength is the reason that I have never mattered as much as my sister's weakness. I hang up the phone without responding. I sit in my rental room, listening to the sound of the water dripping from the pipe above my bed. Drip, drip, drip. And I think about all of the data I have been collecting, all of the documentation of who has been there and who hasn't, all of the ways that my family has tried to make my struggle invisible by telling me that I am strong, that I am capable, that I don't need them. And I make a decision. I make a decision that will change everything. I make a decision that will transform my graduation from a moment of celebration into a moment of revelation. I make a decision that will expose the inequities in my family in a way that no words could ever do. But first, I need to make sure I graduate. First, I need to figure out how to come up with that final $1,200, and I know exactly how I'm going to do it. Winter that year was brutal in the way that winters are brutal when you are cold and you have no heat. My rental room has a space heater that costs money to run every hour it is operating. I have been turning it off at night and turning it on only on the coldest days. I have been wearing sweaters under sweaters. I have been putting on gloves to do my homework. I have been trying to make my body use less energy so that the cold doesn't register as intensely. But winter is also the season of New Year's resolutions and small budgets, and the time when tutoring demand increases because parents are panicking about their children's grades before winter break. So I pick up 3 additional tutoring clients in December. I work longer hours at the cafe in the mornings because people want seasonal drinks and they tip better when they feel holiday cheer. And I watch my savings account increase by small increments: $70, $150, $220. But I am still almost $1,000 short. Professor Aaron Boyd is the advisor for my data analytics program. He is 63 years old, which means he is old enough to remember what it was like to be young and struggling, but also old enough to have some actual power to help. He has become something like a mentor to me over the past 2 years. He reviews my work carefully. He gives me feedback that is both honest and kind. He does not tell me that I am strong and therefore don't need help. He simply provides help, as if that is his job, which it is, but which not everyone takes seriously. In December, Professor Boyd asks me to stay after class. He has been reviewing my semester project, a comprehensive data analysis of student performance across 3 different learning modalities. The project is good. I know it is good. I have spent approximately 70 hours on this project. I have analyzed data from 1,500 students. I have identified patterns that no one else has noticed. I have created visualizations that make complex information accessible. But when Professor Boyd asks me to stay, I think he is going to tell me that something is wrong. I think he is going to tell me that I have made an error, that my analysis is flawed, that I have wasted 70 hours on something that doesn't work. Instead, he says, "How many jobs do you have, Tessa?" The question catches me off guard. To quote, "Two," I say. Well, two main jobs. I also do some freelance work, but not much. And you're still finishing at the top of your class, Professor Boyd says. He is not asking me a question. He is making a statement. I was like that once, when I was younger. Before I finished my PhD, I was working full-time at a grocery store and taking classes and thinking that I could just keep going, keep pushing, keep refusing help, and everything would work out. He leans back in his chair. Everything worked out, he continues. But I paid a price for it. My health suffered. My relationships suffered. My capacity for joy suffered. I learned, eventually, that being strong doesn't mean being alone. I learned that asking for help is not weakness. I learned that accepting support is not the same as failing. Professor Boyd hands me a folder. Inside the folder is an application for the National Oak Hill Foundation Scholarship. The scholarship is specifically designed for graduate students who are completing their degrees while working. The scholarship is designed for people like me. The scholarship awards $100,000 over the next 2 years. $100,000. You're going to apply for this, Professor Boyd says. It is not a request. You're going to apply because you deserve it. You're going to apply because the foundation needs to know that people like you exist. You're going to apply because I am going to write you a letter of recommendation, and it is one of the best letters I have ever written, and it would be a waste if you didn't use it. I take the folder. I read through the application materials. The scholarship requires an essay about what it means to be truly present in your own life. It requires a letter of recommendation from someone who can attest to the applicant's work ethic and character. It requires a data visualization that demonstrates the applicant's skills. It requires a commitment to continue working in a field that serves the broader community. I start working on the application immediately, but while I'm working on the application, while I'm trying to tell my story on paper in a way that will convince the foundation that I deserve $100,000, I am also starting to think about my own data. I am starting to think about all of the documentation I have been keeping in a spreadsheet for the past 3 years. I have been tracking everything. I have been noting every time my mother calls me, and what she says, and whether she asks about my life, or whether she tells me about her life. I have been tracking every time my father tries to help me and gets shut down by my mother. I have been tracking every tuition payment I have made myself, and how much it has cost me, and what I have sacrificed to pay for it. I have been tracking how often I see my family, and how often they acknowledge my work, and how often they make the choice to prioritize Ashley's needs over my own. I have been running the numbers in my head for years, but I have never actually visualized the data. I have never created a graph or a chart or a dashboard that shows, in a clear and undeniable way, what the differences are, what the inequities are, what the reality is. On a night in late December, at 2 in the morning, I sit down at my laptop and I start building a dashboard. I am not building this dashboard for the scholarship application. I am building this dashboard for me. I am building it because I need to see, in a clear and visual way, what the past 3 years have actually cost me. I am building it because I need to prove, with data, what my mother has never acknowledged, what my father has never had the courage to say, what my sister has never understood. The dashboard takes me 12 hours to build. It is the most comprehensive visualization I have ever created. It shows, on one axis, every dollar that I have spent on my own education. It shows every hour that I have worked. It shows every sacrifice that I have made. And on the other axis, It shows every dollar that my family has spent on my sister's education. It shows every hour that my parents have spent supporting her. It shows every trip they have taken to watch her perform or compete. It shows every gift they have given her, every meal they have provided, every moment of attention they have directed toward her. The visualization is devastating. It is a graph that shows two completely different lives. One life where a child is supported, nurtured, given everything she needs to thrive, and another life where a child is told she is strong and therefore left to figure things out alone. One life where someone is shown through action that they matter, and another life where someone is told through words that they don't need anything, which is the same as being told that they don't matter. I save the dashboard to my cloud storage. I title it Data ID TM. I add notes explaining what the data represents. And then I close my laptop and I go to bed, and I think about what I am about to do. But before I can do anything, I need to solve the immediate problem. I need to come up with the final payment for my tuition. I need to graduate on schedule. And I realize, as I am sitting in my rental room, looking at my laptop, that I have an asset I can sell. I have a laptop that I have been using for 5 years. It is outdated, and it is slow, and it is barely functioning anymore. But it still works. It still boots up. It still runs the specialized software that I need for my data analysis work. I also have a copy of that specialized software. It is expensive software. It is the kind of software that students usually cannot afford. But I have been granted a license as part of my university enrollment. The license is theoretically non-transferable, but I know people who have been able to sell their licenses and who have buyers waiting. I know that I could make a significant amount of money if I was willing to sell my laptop and my software license. The thing about making a sacrifice like this is that it doesn't feel like a sacrifice in the moment. It feels like necessity. It feels like the only logical choice. It feels like something you do because there is no alternative. I spent a week finding buyers for my laptop and my software license. I spent a week negotiating prices and making sure that the transaction is secure and that I am not getting taken advantage of. And then, on January 5th, I sell both of them. The money comes into my bank account. The laptop leaves my desk. The software license transfers to someone else, and suddenly, I have $1,480. Suddenly, I have enough to pay my tuition. Suddenly, I am going to graduate on schedule. But I also suddenly don't have the tools I need to do my work. I don't have the software. I don't have the laptop. I have a desktop computer in the corner of my room that is connected to the internet, and I can use that for the rest of my coursework. But I can't move it. I can't take it to coffee shops. I can't use it for anything that requires mobility. I can't do my freelance work anymore because I don't have the tools to do the work. The night after I sell my laptop and my software, I sit at the desktop computer and I start to cry. It is a quiet cry, the kind of cry where you don't make much noise and you don't move very much, but the tears just keep coming. And I think about how unfair this is. I think about how my sister gets everything she needs without having to ask for it, without having to sacrifice anything, without having to sell pieces of her life to pay for her education. And then there is a knock on my door. I wipe my face quickly, and I open the door, and it is Nora Jenkins. Nora is the woman who owns the house that I am renting from. She is 67 years old, and she has lived in this house for 35 years. She has a granddaughter who is close to my age, and I think that is why she has been kind to me. I think that is why she hasn't charged me the late fees that my lease technically allows her to charge. I think that is why she has turned a blind eye to the fact that I have been running my tutoring business out of my room, which technically violates the terms of my lease. Nora is holding a cake. It is a simple cake, just a chocolate cake from a grocery store, the kind of cake that doesn't cost much money but that represents an enormous amount of thought. She says, I heard you crying. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. I brought you some cake. I take the cake, and I think about how the kindness of strangers is more present in my life than the kindness of my own family. And I think about how I am going to use this moment of being seen by someone who doesn't have to see me, as proof that there are people who show up when it matters. There are people who are present. Thank you, I say to Nora. Thank you so much. You're welcome, dear, she says. You know, in all the years I've lived in this house, I've never seen anyone work as hard as you do. I've never seen anyone sacrifice as much. And I just wanted you to know that I see it. I see you. And in that moment, I realize that someone has finally said the thing that I have been waiting to hear someone say for 3 years. I see you. Your effort matters. Your sacrifice matters. You matter. It doesn't come from my family, but it comes from somewhere, and it is enough to keep me going. I close the door and I sit down, and I eat the cake, and I think about what I am going to do at my graduation ceremony. I think about the moment when I am going to reveal the dashboard. I think about the moment when my family is going to understand, in a way they cannot deny, what the past 3 years has actually cost me. The scholarship application deadline is February 15th. I finish my essay on February 14th at 11:47 p.m., 13 minutes before the deadline. 13 minutes of buffer time for technical issues or last-minute panic. 13 minutes of cushion. In the essay, I write about what it means to be truly present in your own life. I write about what it feels like to work for everything that you have. I write about what it feels like to watch someone else receive the same things without having to work for them. I write about the data I have been collecting. I write about the visualizations I have been creating. I write about the moment when I realized that my strength was being used against me, that my ability to survive was being interpreted as an excuse not to help me, that my refusal to ask for support was being celebrated by my family as evidence that I didn't need any support. I write about Professor Boyd. I write about Nora Jenkins. I write about the cashier at the coffee shop where I work, who always gives me the employee discount even when I forget to ask for it. I write about the tutoring students who have become friends, who have told me that I have changed their lives, who have shown me that my work matters. I write about all of the ways that I have been present in my own life and in other people's lives, while my own family has remained absent. I submit the application at 11:59 p.m., and then I wait. For 3 weeks, I wait. I go to work. I go to class. I tutor students in the evening. I study late at night using the desktop computer that is my only tool now. I wait for the notification that will tell me whether I have been accepted into the scholarship program or whether I need to start figuring out some other way to fund the rest of my education. The notification comes on March 8th. It is an email from the National Oak Hill Foundation. The subject line says, "Congratulations, you have been selected as a finalist." I read the email 3 times before I understand what it means. It means that I have made it to the next round. It means that they are interested in me. It means that my story matters enough for them to consider me further. But the finalists have to present their data visualization in person. The presentation is scheduled for April 12th at the Foundation's headquarters, which is 3 hours away from the city where I live. The presentation is scheduled for 2 p.m., which means I will need to take time off work, which means I will lose the money that I would have earned if I had been working. I go to my boss at the cafe and I tell him that I need to take a half day on April 12th. He looks at his schedule and he says, "We're going to be busy that day. We're going to be slammed. Is this important?" And I say, "Yes, it is important. This is the most important thing I have done in a long time." And he says, "Then go. Don't worry about the money. You'll be fine." I take the day off. I drive to the Foundation's headquarters. I set up my laptop, which I have borrowed from a classmate, and I present my dashboard. I present the data that shows the disparity between my own educational journey and my sister's educational journey. I present the information without anger, but with absolute clarity. I present the numbers. I let the numbers speak for themselves. The people on the panel ask me questions. They ask me why I didn't ask my family for help. They ask me if I regret my decision to refuse their support. They ask me what I plan to do with my education if I receive the scholarship. And I answer their questions honestly. I tell them that I asked my family for help once, and I was told that I was strong enough to figure it out. I tell them that I don't regret my decision because I had to choose between accepting my family's conditional support and maintaining my autonomy. I tell them that I plan to use my education to tell stories with data, to make invisible things visible, to use visualization to expose truths that people would rather remain hidden. 3 weeks later, I receive a phone call from the foundation. The person on the phone tells me that I have been selected as a full scholarship recipient. The person tells me that the foundation has decided to give me $100,000. The person tells me that this money will cover the rest of my MBA program, plus my living expenses, plus funding for a research project of my choice. I cry. I actually cry. Right there in the middle of my data analytics class, right in front of everyone. Professor Boyd sees me crying and he asks me what's wrong, and I tell him that I got the scholarship, and he stands up and hugs me, which is something that a professor probably shouldn't do, but which I will remember for the rest of my life as one of the most meaningful moments of my education. That night, I call my mother. I tell her that I received a full scholarship. I tell her that I don't need their financial help anymore. I tell her that I will be graduating on schedule. I tell her that everything has worked out. My mother says, "That's wonderful, Tessa. We're so proud of you. Ashley wanted me to ask if you're going to be at her graduation ceremony in May. She really wants you there." And I say, "Of course I'll be there. I wouldn't miss it." But even as I am saying these words, I am thinking about my graduation ceremony. I am thinking about the fact that my family is planning to attend. I am thinking about the moment when they are going to understand what I have been planning. Because at my graduation ceremony, they are going to announce that I have won the National Oak Hill Foundation Scholarship. They are going to announce that I have been selected for this honor because of my dedication, my work ethic, and my ability to visualize complex data in a way that makes sense, and they are going to ask me to come up on stage and receive recognition for this achievement. And when I come up on stage, my mother and father and sister will be sitting in the front row, and they will be watching the screen, and they will see the data dashboard that I have been working on. They will see the visualization that shows every dollar that I have spent on my own education and every dollar that they have spent on my sister's education. They will see the hours that I have worked and the hours that they have spent supporting Ashley. They will see the sacrifices that I have made, visualized in a way that cannot be denied. And my mother will finally see that her narrative, the narrative in which I am strong and therefore don't need support, the narrative in which my sister is weak and therefore needs unlimited support, has been a choice. It has not been a reflection of reality. It has been a choice that my mother has made, consciously or unconsciously, to direct all of her resources toward my sister and to use my strength as an excuse to withdraw her support from me. My sister has been keeping me updated on the preparations for my graduation. She sends me messages about where the family will be sitting. She sends me photos of the flowers that will be in the auditorium. She sends me messages saying things like, "M is so proud of Chi. M wants everyone to see how amazing Chi is." And she means it. She genuinely means it. But her pride is based on a version of me that she has constructed. A version of me that is superhuman. A version of me that doesn't struggle. A version of me that doesn't hurt. The night before my graduation, I cannot sleep. I am thinking about the next day. I am thinking about the moment when my family is going to understand what I have done. I am thinking about the moment when they are going to see the data. I am thinking about whether I am making the right choice, whether this is something I should do, whether exposing this truth will help anyone, or whether it will just hurt people I love. At 4 in the morning, I text Professor Boyd. I tell him that I'm having second thoughts. I tell him that maybe I shouldn't show the dashboard. I tell him that maybe I should just graduate quietly and move on with my life. He responds immediately, even though it is 4 in the morning. He says, "You have spent 3 years being invisible. You have spent 3 years working harder than anyone else while being told that you don't need support. You have spent 3 years living in a way that is unsustainable and unjust. Tomorrow, you get to be visible. Tomorrow, you get to show the world what you have accomplished. Tomorrow, you get to hold your family accountable for their choices. You should do it. You should absolutely do it." And I think about what he is saying, and I think about all of the moments over the past 3 years when I have bitten my tongue, when I have accepted less, when I have pretended that I was fine with the way things were, when I have been dishonest about my own suffering to protect my family's feelings. And I think that maybe it is time to stop being dishonest. Maybe it is time to tell the truth. Maybe it is time to let my family see what their choices have actually meant. The morning of my graduation, I wake up and I prepare myself. I put on the cap and gown that I have rented. I straighten my papers. I prepare my mind for what is about to happen. And I think about all of the people who have studied me over the past 3 years. Professor Boyd, Nora Jenkins, the barista who gives me the employee discount, my tutoring students, the strangers who have been kinder to me than my own family has been. All of these people have studied me. All of these people have been present. And now it is time for me to be present. It is time for me to show up. It is time for me to tell the truth in a way that cannot be ignored, cannot be denied, cannot be minimized. It is time for me to take all of the invisible work I have been doing and make it visible. It is time. The Jefferson Auditorium is full, completely full. There are 800 people sitting in the seats, and they are waiting for the ceremony to begin. I can see my family in the front row. My mother is wearing a dress that costs more than a month of my rent. My father is wearing a suit that makes him look uncomfortable and small. My sister is wearing a dress that matches the one my mother is wearing, like they are a matched set. Like they belong to the same category of people. And they are happy. They are so genuinely happy that I am about to graduate. The ceremony begins with a welcome from Carla Ortiz, who is the Director of Graduate Studies. Carla is speaking about the accomplishments of the graduating class. She is talking about students who have gone on to work for major corporations, students who have received job offers from prestigious consulting firms, students who have been published in academic journals, students who have made discoveries that will change the way we think about data and information. And then Carla says, "But there is one award that I want to highlight today. This is an award that is not given every year. This is an award that is only given to students who have demonstrated exceptional dedication to their studies while maintaining employment that has supported their own education. This is the National Oak Hill Foundation Award for Outstanding Presence in Your Own Life." I feel my heart accelerate. This is it. This is the moment I have been waiting for. Carla continues. This year, the award goes to a student who has worked 2 jobs while maintaining a perfect GPA. A student who has refused to accept the easy path, who has insisted on earning everything through her own effort, and who has used her data analysis skills to tell a story that we, as a foundation, felt was important enough to share with the world. The screen behind the stage lights up, and there, displayed in high definition, is my dashboard. The visualization that I created at 2 in the morning, the one that shows every dollar of sacrifice, every hour of work, every moment of inequality. But it is not just the dashboard. There are also images. There is a photo of my shoes with the holes and the tape I used to close them. There is a photo of the ceiling in my rental room with the water damage. There is a photo of my work schedule, all of the shifts I have taken, all of the hours I have worked. There is a photo of me and Nora Jenkins, taken at 5 in the morning, standing together in front of the house where I have been renting my room. There is a photo of my laptop, the one that I sold to pay my tuition. There is a photo of the desktop computer that has been my only tool for the past few months. And then there is a chart that shows, visually, the difference between the support I have received and the support my sister has received. The two lines diverge immediately. One line goes up, showing all of the investment in Ashley's education, Ashley's experiences, Ashley's development. The other line stays flat, showing the absence of investment in my own development. Carla is still speaking. She is saying, "This student was selected from among thousands of applicants because her story demonstrates something fundamental about what it means to be truly present in your own life. It means showing up for yourself when no one else will. It means doing the work. It means documenting your truth. And it means being brave enough to tell that truth, even when it is uncomfortable." The camera in the auditorium is pointed at my family. I can see my mother's face change. I can see the moment when she understands what is happening. I can see the moment when the reality of the dashboard hits her. I can see her face crumple. My father's hand reaches for hers and she pulls away. Ashley is looking at the screen, and I can see tears running down her face. Not tears of sadness, I think, but tears of understanding. Tears of realizing that she has been given something that her older sister has had to fight for. Tears of understanding that her life has been easier because mine has been harder. The winner of the National Oak Hill Foundation Award is Tessa Monroe, Carla announces. The auditorium erupts in applause. People are standing up. People are clapping. And I am walking down the aisle toward the stage, and I am trying not to cry, and I am trying to maintain my composure. But I can feel something breaking inside me. I can feel the wall that I have built over the past 3 years beginning to crack. I walk onto the stage. Carla shakes my hand and gives me an envelope that contains the certificate of achievement, and then she steps to the side, and the microphone is in front of me, and I have the option to speak. I am not supposed to speak. The protocol is that I would smile, take the certificate, wave to the audience, and walk off. But I see my mother in the front row, and I see my father, and I see my sister, and I think about all of the moments when I could have spoken and didn't, all of the moments when I could have told them how hard things were and didn't, all of the moments when I was told that I was strong and I accepted that as a reason not to help me. I step up to the microphone. The auditorium falls silent. "Thank you," I say. Thank you to the National Oak Hill Foundation for recognizing that strength is not the same as independence, that capacity is not the same as lack of need, that being able to survive does not mean that you should have to survive alone. I pause. I look at my family. 3 years ago, I made a decision to pay for my own education. I made this decision because I was told that I was strong, and therefore I didn't need help. What I learned, over the course of the past 3 years, is that this reasoning is fundamentally flawed. Being strong doesn't mean you don't need help. Being capable doesn't mean you shouldn't receive support. Being able to survive does not mean that survival is your only option. My mother is crying now. Real tears, not performance tears. My father has his head in his hands. Ashley is covering her mouth with her hands. I want to thank the people who showed up for me when my own family couldn't. I continue. Professor Boyd, who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Nora Jenkins, who showed me kindness without asking for anything in return. All of the people who have been present in my life in ways that matter. These are the people who have made me who I am. These are the people who have shown me what real love looks like. I take a breath. I also want to say, to my family, that I don't regret the choices I have made. I am proud of the work I have done, but I want you to know that I see the choices you have made too. I see the support you have given to my sister. I see the love you have directed toward her. And I see the absence. I see the times when you could have shown up for me and you didn't. I see the times when you could have supported me and you chose not to. I see that. I have documented that. And I hope that, going forward, you will think about what your choices have meant, not just for me, but for how you want to be remembered. I step back from the microphone. I am still on the stage. Carla is looking at me with an expression of something between shock and admiration. The auditorium is silent. Nobody is clapping. Nobody is moving. It is as if time has stopped. And then, from somewhere in the middle of the auditorium, someone starts clapping. One person, just one, and then another person joins in, and then another, and then the entire auditorium is on their feet, clapping, and I realize that I am not alone in this. I realize that there are other people, people I don't know, people I have never met, who understand what I am doing. People who understand what it means to be told that you are strong and therefore you don't need help. People who understand the injustice of that logic. I walk off the stage. I pass my mother on the way. She reaches for my hand, and I see her hand is shaking. She says, very quietly, "I'm sorry. I am so sorry." And I don't stop. I don't take her hand. But I also don't pull away. I just keep walking. Because I have spent 3 years being strong for other people, and I need to spend some time being strong for myself. The ceremony continues. Other awards are given. The student body president gives a speech. The university president gives a speech. And then, finally, it is time for the actual graduation. It is time for names to be called. And when they call my name, I walk across the stage, and I receive my diploma, and I officially become a woman with a master's degree in data analytics. But more than that, I become a woman who has been honest about her life. I become a woman who has refused to let her struggles be invisible. I become a woman who has used her skills to tell a truth that needed to be told. And I become a woman who understands that strength is not the same as isolation. After the ceremony ends, my family approaches me. My mother has tear stains on her cheeks. My father looks like he is about to say something and then thinks better of it. My sister walks directly up to me and puts her arms around me, and she says, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't understand. I didn't know." And I let her hug me, because she is a victim of the same system that has victimized me, and because her apology is genuine, and because hugging her does not mean I am forgiving everything that my family has done. My mother tries to pull me aside to talk, but I tell her that I am not ready to talk yet. I tell her that I need some time to process what has happened. I tell her that I will call her when I am ready to have that conversation. A woman approaches me. She is in her 50s, wearing business clothes, carrying a leather portfolio. She introduces herself as Megan Shaw, a talent recruiter from a consulting firm called Quarry Peak Insights. She tells me that she has been watching my presentation, and she is impressed by my ability to translate complex data into visual stories. She tells me that she would like to offer me a position with her company. She tells me that she is looking for people who understand that data is not just numbers, but that data is a way of telling truth. She tells me that I would be perfect for her company. I take her business card. I tell her that I would like to talk to her more about the opportunity. And I realize that this is what happens when you tell the truth. This is what happens when you stop being invisible. This is what happens when you use your voice to say the things that need to be said. Doors open. Opportunities appear. The world recognizes that you are not just a strong person who survives, but a capable person who is worth investing in. After the ceremony, my family tries to convince me to go out to dinner with them. They have made a reservation at a nice restaurant. They want to celebrate. They want to take photos. They want to perform the role of the proud family, the family that has always been supportive, the family that is happy about my graduation. I tell my mother, I appreciate the invitation, but I need to go home. I am tired. I have been working toward this moment for 3 years, and I need to process it. My mother says, but honey, we want to celebrate with you. We want to be part of your graduation experience. And I look at her, and I think about all of the times when she was not part of my graduation experience, all of the times when she chose to be absent, all of the times when she decided that my strength meant I didn't need her presence, and I say, thank you for the offer, but I need to go home. My father walks me to my car. On the way, he says very quietly, I should have said something. I should have told your mother that what she was doing was wrong. I should have insisted on helping you. I made a choice to be silent, and I made that choice because it was easier than fighting with your mother. I chose my own comfort over your well-being. I know that now, and I'm ashamed. I stop walking. I look at my father, and I see that he has aged 10 years in the past 3 hours. I see that the truth I spoke on the stage has hit him hard, and I realize that my father was not trying to hurt me. My father was simply being cowardly. My father was choosing the path of least resistance. My father was allowing my mother to make the decisions because saying no to her would have been harder than saying yes. I'm not forgiving you, I say. But I hear you. I hear what you're saying, and maybe that's a start. My father nods, and he hugs me, and I let him. And it does not feel like reconciliation, but it feels like acknowledgement. It feels like my father finally understanding what he has done. I drive back to my rental room. I park my car in the driveway. I climb the stairs to my room. And I open the door to the place where I have lived for the past 3 years. The room looks exactly as I left it that morning. The desktop computer is on my desk. The window shows the same view it has always shown. The pipe that drips in the corner is still dripping. Drip, drip, drip. But something has changed. Something fundamental has changed. I am not the same person who left this room this morning. This morning, I was someone who was invisible to her own family. This morning, I was someone who had been told that she was strong and therefore didn't need help. This morning, I was someone who had accepted the narrative that my suffering was acceptable because I was capable of surviving it. This evening, I am someone who has been seen. I am someone who has told her truth in front of 800 people. I am someone who has exposed the inequities in her own family. I am someone who has refused to let her struggles remain invisible. I sit down at the desktop computer and I check my email. There are 43 new messages. 43 people who have reached out to me since the ceremony. Some of them are from people who know me. Some of them are from strangers who watched the graduation on the live stream. Some of them are from women who have told me that my speech made them think about their own families, their own struggles, their own decisions to be strong without support. One email is from my sister. It says, Dear Tessa, I've been sitting in my room for the past 2 hours thinking about what you said on stage. I've been thinking about how easy my life has been, and how hard your life has been, and how I never noticed. How I never asked why you weren't at all of my soccer games, and my choir performances, and my graduation events. I was so caught up in my own life that I didn't see what was happening to you. I just want you to know that I see it now. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't see it before. I love you, and I'm proud of you, and I'm going to try to be different. Please write back. I read this email 3 times, and I think about what it means to have my sister finally see me. I think about what it means to have someone in my family finally acknowledge that something was wrong. I think about what I might do with this acknowledgement. I think about whether it is possible to have a different kind of relationship with my family going forward. I don't have the answer yet, but I know that I have the right to take my time figuring it out. I receive a call from Megan Shaw, the talent recruiter. She tells me that she has already discussed the consulting position with her company's leadership, and they have authorized her to offer me a significant signing bonus and a position that starts immediately after my graduation ceremony. She tells me that they will provide relocation assistance if I decide to move to the city where their main office is located. She tells me that they see something in me that they want to invest in. She tells me that they believe in me. I tell her that I am interested in the position. I tell her that I would like to learn more about what the role would entail. I tell her that I might be interested in relocating. I tell her that I need a few days to think about it. Take all the time you need, she says, but I want to make sure you know. This is a real offer. This is not something that might happen. This is something that is going to happen. You are going to work for us. You are going to tell stories with data. You are going to do important work. It's just a question of when you're ready to start. I hang up the phone and I go to the window and I look out at the city. The city lights are starting to come on as the sun sets. The buildings are starting to glow. The streets are starting to fill with people who are heading home, people who are going out to dinner, people who are beginning their evenings. And I think about what it means to stand on the edge of a new life. I think about what it means to have worked so hard that you have finally arrived at a place where someone else wants to invest in you. I think about what it means to have told the truth and had the truth be recognized, validated, celebrated. I go back to the computer and I write a response to my sister. I tell her that I appreciate her apology. I tell her that I also appreciate her finally seeing me. I tell her that I don't know what our relationship is going to look like going forward, but that I am open to figuring it out. I tell her that I will call her soon. I tell her that I love her too. I sit with that message for a long time before I send it. I think about whether I am ready to be in relationship with my family again. I think about whether I can forgive them for not showing up for me when it mattered. I think about whether my story is one of reconciliation or one of independence, and I realize that it doesn't have to be one or the other. My story can be both. My story can be about me showing up for myself, and also about me allowing other people to show up for me when they are ready, when they understand what they need to understand, when they are finally willing to see. I send the email. The next morning, I meet with Professor Boyd. We sit in his office, surrounded by stacks of academic papers and empty coffee cups, and I tell him about the job offer. I tell him about the scholarship. I tell him about the graduation ceremony. I tell him about all of it. "What are you going to do?" he asks. "I'm going to take the job," I say. "I'm going to move to the city. I'm going to tell stories with data. I'm going to do the work that I've been preparing for." "Good," he says. "That's the right choice. You deserve to be in a place where your work is valued, where your contributions are recognized, where you don't have to be strong alone anymore." "I had a lot of help," I say. "Even when I thought I was doing it alone, I had help. From you, from Nora, from the people who showed up even though my family didn't." "You did have help," he says. "And you also did the work. Those things are not mutually exclusive. You worked hard and you also accepted help, and both of those things are what made it possible for you to get here." I think about this for a moment. I think about all of the ways I have tried to convince myself that I didn't need help, that I was doing this completely on my own, that any help I received didn't count because I had asked for it. I think about how this kind of thinking has probably limited me in ways I don't even understand yet. I think I've been holding on to this idea that accepting help means I'm weak, I say. My mom told me I was strong, and I interpreted that to mean I shouldn't need help. But I think what I'm learning is that needing help is not the same as being weak, and accepting help is not the same as failing. Exactly, Professor Boyd says. You've just described what took me 10 years to figure out. You're already ahead of the curve. I leave his office and I go back to my rental room and I start packing. I pack the things I own, which is not very much. I pack the laptop that I borrowed. I pack the clothes that I have worn hundreds of times. I pack the shoes with the tape. I pack everything that represents the past 3 years of my life. On my last night in the room, I sit by the window and I watch the city lights. The dripping sound from the pipe is still there. Drip, drip, drip. But it doesn't sound sad anymore. It sounds like a rhythm. It sounds like evidence of something I have survived. It sounds like the sound of a chapter ending. The next morning, I load my car and I say goodbye to Nora. She hugs me and says, "I always knew you were going to do something great. I just wanted to make sure you knew it too." I drive out of the neighborhood. I drive away from the rental room. I drive toward the city where my new job is waiting. I drive toward the next chapter of my life. And I think about my mother. I think about my father. I think about my sister. I think about the dashboard that exposed the truth. I think about the moment when my family finally saw what they had been choosing not to see. I think about what happens after the moment of seeing. I think about whether they will change. I think about whether they will be different people moving forward. I don't know the answer yet, but I know that I have done my part. I have told the truth. I have exposed the inequity. I have shown them what their choices have meant. And now it is up to them to decide what they do with that information. For the first time in 3 years, I am not responsible for their reaction. For the first time in 3 years, I am not responsible for managing their emotions or protecting their feelings or helping them understand why what they did was wrong. I am only responsible for myself. And that is enough. That is more than enough. That is everything.